morning to one and all present here. So, today marks the final round of Conquest 24, the annual case study competition of FMS Delhi, organized by the Consulting Club in collaboration with DF as its title sponsor. Our co-sponsors include Nature for Nature, Case Solvers, and Heavy Sham Consulting. Before starting, dear teams, first of all, congratulations for making to the top 10 finalists. You have made till here amongst the 1,000 plus registrations during round 1, followed by 100 teams during round 2. This is the final round where the top 10 teams are going to present their pitch decks or solutions to the jury members. Presenting before you the Consulting Club team at FMS Delhi. The Consulting Club at FMS Delhi is a student-run organization working towards preparing the students for a career in consulting with the agenda of liaising with global consultants to increase their presence at FMS. Our vision is to build awareness and generate interest in the consulting domain among students, create and maintain long-term corporate relationships with the top consulting firms of the world, and make available all resources necessary to build content and competency on the campus. The success of this event, Conquest 24, the annual case study competition, would not have been possible without the hard work of the consulting team. Our president, Shambhavi Kumari, and associate members, Avriti Arora, Anushri Jain, Rajat Sharma, Ronla Vinay Reddy, and Neha Prasad. We are delighted to introduce the jury members for the day. Our first jury member is Dr. Neha Bhardwaj. Dr. Neha Bhardwaj serves as an assistant professor at the Faculty of Management Studies. She brings a rich background in academia, having previously spent nearly 3 years at IIM Rohtak. Dr. Bhardwaj completed her PhD at FMS, where she also has been contributing to the advancement of knowledge through her teaching and research. Her teaching portfolio covers a range of subjects within the domain of marketing, focusing on consumer behavior, services marketing, and marketing management for PG students. Dr. Bhardwaj's research interests are centered around customer experience management and the dynamics of evolving consumer behaviors in response to new technology and media. Her scholarly work has been recognized and published in esteemed journals, including the International Journal of Consumer Studies, Journal of Marketing Communication, showcasing her contribution to the field of marketing. We thank you, ma'am, for being with us today as a jury member for the event.
Thank you, Rajat.
Sure. Introducing our second jury, Dr. Nabajyoti Deka, sir. Dr. Nabajyoti Deka is an assistant professor at FMS Delhi, specializing in mixed methods and qualitative research. With a dynamic background that spans over 6 years across both corporate sectors and academia, he has enriched institutions such as Calories India, Rajiv Gandhi University of Knowledge Technologies, and VIT with his expertise. Dr. Deka's academic credentials are further solidified by a PhD in Agribusiness Economics and Management from IIT Kharagpur, where his research was a commendable interdisciplinary blend of economics, business management, and social sciences. His postdoctoral endeavors include a significant multi-country short-term study focusing on climate change adaptation, showcasing his commitment to addressing pressing global challenges through academic research and collaboration. Thank you, sir, once again for joining this event with us today.
Thank you, Rajat, and good morning to all of you. All the best to the team members. Thank you.
Now, introducing before you the jury chair for the day, Mr. Monce C. Mr. Monce C. is the director at DF, a management specialist. His expertise includes marketing, branding, strategy, building innovation capability, thought leadership, organization effectiveness, and corporate social responsibility. Backgrounds for the entrepreneurs and business leaders consulted include Harvard, UPenn, Columbia, Cambridge, ISB, World Economic Forum, Fortune 500 CEOs, IIMs, IITs, RECs, non-profit founders, and top-level management. Mr. Monce was one of the few leaders selected as a mentor of change for the first ever Mentor India batch at National Atal Innovation Mission, and also has served as a mentor and jury member at leading national and global industry forums such as Startup India Program, Startup Weekend, Seedsters World, the Center for Entrepreneurship at Ashoka University, Global EdTech Startup Awards, and Nexus Startup Hub, amongst many others. Prior initiatives include heading the marketing and research function at Indian Venture and Alternate Capital Association at 24 years of age, and working as a member of the founding team of a global high-tech venture with a Marx who's serial entrepreneur and global innovator. Mr. Monce scored in the 97th percentile in 2014 Mensa IQ test, placing him in the top 3% IQ of the world, and is an autodidact and a polyglot. We once again thank Mr. Monce for joining our annual case competition as a jury chair.
Thank you so much, Rajat. A quick shout out to the entire FMS team and the consulting club, and wishing all the top 10 teams competing today the very best. Take care and looking forward to this.
Sure. Thank you, Monce. So before starting with the actual presentations part of this event, I would request everyone we'll first share with you a corporate video of DM. So good morning once again, dear sirs and ma'am. The format, the flow of the event will be like this. You all three might have received the scoring sheet, where the order of the teams are also mentioned. So we'll be letting the teams in the same order, one after the another. And this is the presentation room where they'll be presenting their solution. And roughly we have instructed each team to they are having around 10 minutes for each of their presentation. After a particular team is done, we'll let the another team let in the same room. So all of you three will be staying in this room only during the entire presentation event. Does that sound fine?
Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely, please.
Got it. Okay, so we'll after around 2 to 3 minutes, we'll let in the first team in this room. Got it. Sure. And one of us, the Zoom username of the consulting club FMS, that person will always be here. So just in case anything is required, you can let him know. Vinay is the person behind that account.
as employees are less likely to leave if they feel valued and have opportunity.
We have also divided our market segment into four
The
parts.
fourth market to explore, which is supermarket segment.
We as the consultants and the client would target big corporates.
First and foremost would be to focus on branding a good team.
Let's continue with the analysis of the UAE market where our client is operating.
At the same time utilizing their customer base, then the merger objectives will be fulfilled.
Now, as we are venturing into the B2C
Starting
segment.
with our B2B model in 2024, we'll be implementing the kitchen solutions.
Do we have the bandwidth in terms of the financial and operational part?
Provides various expansion opportunities in the areas of food storage.
These are viable industries to scale in.
We already have a diverse portfolio, as the case mentioned. We are into the kitchen equipments, we are into the modular kitchen solutions, we are in the supermarket.
So greetings, respected jury members. I'm Manya Sharma from St. Stephen's College, and my team name is Manya Sharma 0911 for the record. To begin with my solution for the roadmap to turn the firm from churning to $3 to $5 million in annual revenue to $100 million plus in 10 years. Let's first look at the roots of our company, where the company comes from. We see that the firm is based in the UAE, which is the second largest steel production hub in the Middle East, and it seeks to expand to all of the Middle East. And from the problem statement provided, we understand that the firm's founders had left their corporate roles 4 years ago. And so we assume that this company was also established 4 years ago in 2020, as far as this solution is concerned. As mentioned on the screen, we noticed that this manufacturing firm manufactures products in 6 product categories, catering to largely 4 product customer segments, which are, as you can see on your screen, listed in decreasing order of expertise and specialization. So we see 4 customer segments, kitchens, or you can say food service providers in general. Then we have the retail segment, which caters to supermarkets. And then we have the medical and the segments for art enthusiasts. So now moving on to the situation that we have on hand. As stated earlier, we noticed that our firm targets being a market leader in the Middle East with $100 million plus in revenue in a decade. However, we need to look at the challenges which are being encountered by them in order to reach this goal. So these include intense competition in the market, and more importantly, the issue is that most of the projects that this company is able to onboard, they are won due to their offering the lowest prices in the entire market. How is this a problem? This is a problem because this leads to a decline in their own profit margins because they're charging a very low price, and so there is no price premium as such which they're charging to increase their own profit margins. So to achieve
Manya, just a second. If you could just get the view right. For some reason, we're not able to really see the slides properly. So sorry for this.
No worries. Please just a moment. I'll check at my end. Can you see it now, please?
This is perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you. Just a moment. I'll have to shift the size of my screen as well. Great. Okay. So now moving on to the situation at hand. As stated earlier, we noticed that the firm is targeting to be a market leader in the Middle East with $100 million plus revenue in a decade. So to achieve this goal, we essentially have 3 questions that need to be answered. So these could be how they can expand their presence in the Middle East. Secondly, it would be how they can increase their revenue. And thirdly, what strategic partnerships or alliances would be the most beneficial for them in order to reach these goals. So for these, my solution recommends that the firm should firstly build its brand value so as to expand its clientele and land high value projects. Secondly, it must also establish a new subsidiary premium segment, which I have named Aureus, a virtual name so that we are able to understand the idea, so as to increase its revenue. And thirdly, it must establish partnerships with complementary businesses in the MENA region in which it wishes to expand. And these could be luxury housing projects or large-scale retail projects where it could set up prominent supermarkets, etc. Other than this, it must also establish partnerships with reliable suppliers. Now, to achieve these ends, I have formulated a simple 4-step transformation plan, which would entail improving top management, Second step would be forming a differentiation strategy. Then they must invest in sales and marketing. And then finally, they must scale and optimize. So let's see how this would come to be. Firstly, when we do a thorough market analysis of all the segments that they cater to, which are restaurants, retail, hospitals, and decor, here we are using the TAM, SAM, SOM metrics, which stand for total addressable market, serviceable addressable market, and serviceable obtainable market. Here it is noteworthy that in the problem statement, we were only given their revenue, which was the only number provided in the sample document. So unfortunately, we can't project the financials specifically, but we can see what their obtainable market has been in the past years. So by calculating this, we come to know that they have only managed to accumulate 0.5% of the total obtainable market. And further, this slide is organized in a sequence of declining profitability of segments. And so we notice while the three segments are viable markets to expand in, because these trends are in favor of our company, such as the setting up of coming of food halls, the tourist sector expanding in the retail section, we see that there is a need for eco-friendly supermarket shelving solutions. In hospitals, we notice that there is an increased need for clean, easy to clean surfaces, etc. These are viable industries to scale in. So when we are trying to provide a solution for our company, we need to ensure that we are optimizing our resources. In this sense, we notice that expanding in the decor segment is not really viable for us because it is an oversaturated market and it also experiences reduced sales due to its inessential nature. So this was our market analysis. Now, when we are moving on to the solution, firstly, we need to understand what are the key problems due to which they are unable to scale at the moment. So here we are able to pinpoint largely three issues. Firstly, our company faces an issue of weak top management. Excuse me. So while the founders possess strong technical acumen, it doesn't exactly transform into leadership abilities. Leadership is not their forte, which is why they are unable to crack high-value clients at the moment. They have technical acumen. Their team is also very strong. Their products are also of good quality, but they aren't able to scale it up. Here subsequently we'll be looking at a case study where we notice that top management is very important for running a firm. So we'll be looking into detail in that. Secondly, the problem is poor sales and marketing. Again, while our firm's products are of premium quality and are innovative, they are unable to target the entirety of their obtainable market, which is due to their not investing in sales and marketing initiatives. Excuse me. Thirdly, they are facing low profit margins, once again, as stated earlier, because they are not charging a price premium and are offering the lowest price available in the market. So now that we've understood the problems, let's look at the 4-step transformation program in detail. Firstly, the firm needs to fix their issue of top management by establishing the roles of CEO, COO, and CMO in their organization. Again, strong leadership would transform their organization and lead to an increase in revenue, as well as better expansion, cost efficiency, productivity, and better brand positioning, which will be brought about by each of these people who are working in these roles. Next, the firm would need to invest in aggressive sales and marketing initiatives so as to increase its visibility and increase its client base. Here, digital marketing and partnerships with complementary businesses would be of crucial importance, which we would be talking about in detail. Thirdly, the firm is recommended to establish a subsidiary luxury aspirational segment. Let's say this brand is named Aureus, and this would help it increase its profit margins as well as become more prominent in the B2C opportunities as well. Since it is an aspirational brand, people would want to associate themselves with it. If you have an aspirational brand, say Lexus. Lexus was created by Toyota as a subsidiary luxury brand. So even if somebody is unable to afford a Lexus, Lexus's brand visibility and brand value would also lead to a surge in sales for Toyota. So they need to establish a subsidiary luxury aspirational brand. And after all of these 3 steps, the firm would have established a solid foundation for itself in the market. And now the only thing left would be to scale and optimize its operations so as to gather all of the market of the Middle East, which is its target. And for scaling, it would acquire and collaborate with new high-value clients in the Middle East region, while also ensuring to retain the current client database. Because we saw in the problem statement that they have a history of having high-value clients. So they must retain those and go on to acquire new ones. As far as optimization is concerned, like we talked earlier, it is recommended to close the decor segment entirely and instead invest those funds for the 3 steps mentioned earlier, as well as to expand Aureus, which would primarily cater to the premium kitchen segment. We are saying that Aureus caters to the premium kitchen segment because that is the most profitable business that they are currently in. And we recommend retaining the hospital and supermarket product segments for a steady source of income because it is also decently profitable and will bring us a steady source of revenue. Decor, we must close it down to optimize our resources. Now let's look at these steps in detail, how we would be going about bringing these transformations into fruition. Firstly, we must understand why my solution chooses these 3 portfolios in the C-suite in specific. Because we could have opted for a CFO, we could have opted for any other CXO level executive. But these 3 were taken into consideration because we have limited funds here, because we have several avenues to invest in. We need to invest in the improvement of our top management. We need to establish a new premium brand. We need to bring about strong sales and marketing initiatives, among others. So at the moment, we only need these 3 portfolios so as to scale our operations and to become a market leader. See, the most important asset of a company, I understand, is its people. So change in top management, like we talked earlier, has shown to increase its revenues according to several case studies, including one which was done by graduates from Wharton and Kellogg's. So there they showed us that change in top management is shown to improve company revenue. And not just that, it is shown to improve company culture, which I have read about personally as well. Say, for example, we have Satya Nadella, who transformed Microsoft, which was known to be one of the most competitive spaces to be in when you talk about the company's external environment or when you talk about the company's internal environment. Microsoft was insanely competitive, very difficult space to exist in. Then came Satya Nadella, and he transformed the company culture in a way that it was collaborative and open with not just those outside the companies, such as with external companies, but it was very collaborative and open in its culture within the company as well. So the internal environment of the company changed, which obviously helped us to boost its operations, to boost its revenue. So we need to bring about these changes in our top management. Secondly, the second step would involve improvement in the sales and marketing initiatives. Once again, we understand that our firm's products are of excellent quality, but once again, they do not attract high-value clients. This is due to a weak brand presence. See, for example, if you say that you can buy a car from Maruti Suzuki, for instance, which would cost you as much as a Mercedes, it would cost you 50 lakh. So if you're putting in 50 lakhs, you would be like, I would rather put it to buy a Mercedes. Why would I want to associate myself with a Maruti Suzuki? So this is where the value of a brand comes in, the aspirational aspect of a brand. So they need to invest in their sales and marketing initiatives. Firstly, I think marketing efforts must be tailored to the specific sections of the audience, such as separate initiatives for kitchens, supermarkets, and the hospital segments. Secondly, we must also capitalize on digital marketing. This was the trick which grew Airbnb to $1 billion. So we can hire an external agency for this purpose and they can optimize our operations here. Then we must also collaborate with local influencers and attend prestigious conferences once again to improve our visibility. Our marketing efforts would include all of these, and then this would allow us to improve our sales initiatives. Then one of the key critical issues which was being faced by the company was that of differentiation, because it's a highly competitive market. So one of these main issues could be tackled by building the brand's image again and by creating its reputation with a cohesive identity and aligning its values with the Middle East's aspirations of, say, being a helpful company, such as through capitalizing on its initiatives in working with hospitals. And also, it must be globally connected, which also aligns with the views of the Middle East. Quality excellence would involve bringing about robust R&D investments for high quality products and also ensure rigorous control measures. Then technological leadership must also be focused on, since the founders are from a strong technical backing. And then we must ensure that our practices are sustainable, which would involve partnerships with sustainable suppliers, which work through transparent communication ethical codes. And we must also invest in employee well-being initiatives, because again, the most important asset are its people. And these pillars would help define our commitment to excellence and would bring about innovation, sustainability, and customer trust, which would position us for lasting success in the competitive market. Now it is at this last step when we must introduce our luxury subsidiary brand, Aureus, and it would cater to the luxury segment of kitchen solutions. To differentiate ourselves in the competitive market, we must follow these steps given on the screen, which would allow us to upgrade ourselves. And we must ensure that products which are brought under Aureus must be of luxury quality, so as to justify our charging a price premium and marketing it as an aspirational brand. This again is similar to Toyota, where they brought about Lexus to as their aspirational premium segment. Then lastly, we must scale and optimize through retaining our current customer base and also increasing our clientele by regularly updating them through personalized communication, etc. We must also ensure that we are a transparent company that communicates about any changes or upgrades to keep our clients involved. Then most importantly, we need to scale ourselves at the global level, and firstly in the Middle East. So we must partner with industry leaders. For instance, I suggest that we partner with, say, MR, EMAAR, the MR, which is a company which is one of the leading real estate projects. So we can collaborate with them so as to set up their kitchens, etc. We could also set up some of the most prestigious and the most well-known luxury supermarkets in the Middle East. And this way, we will be able to advertise ourselves through geo-targets as well. So this would be strategic for us, and this will be allowing us to reach a diverse audience within the Middle East, allowing us to reach our targets of being a $100 million+ company within a decade. So thank you so much. That was my solution.
Thank you, Manya. Dr. Neha, Dr. Nabha.
All right. So thanks, Mr. Monce. Manya, so you have an ambitious plan to expand to $100 million business in revenue, right?
Yes,
just imagine there is a venture capitalist firm or investors like Berkshire Hathaway or Tiger Global or 3G Capital, right? Who has a successful track record of hand-holding different businesses, fine. And then there is, say, Saudi Arab Steel or any famous steel manufacturing firm from the UAE region, fine. Now, when you seek strategic investment, whom would you look for? I hope I'm clear in terms of the question. Am I clear? Okay.
I understand that we wish to understand what we would want to know when we are trying to look for an investor, whom we have the best odds with for landing an investment to scale our business. So I would say it must be someone who has, most importantly, the ethical values that we see in ourselves. Because as you said, there are huge market players. We have, I'm sorry, I'm missing out the name, but there are companies which are churning hundreds of millions, billions in revenue. So what do we have on them to show our investors that why you should invest in us? So I feel that most importantly, we should see that they have ethical values that align with ours. We see that we have technical prowess. We see that we have the backing to show that we have what it takes to be a market leader. So most importantly, I think we should see an investor which should have our ethical values of being helpful in being socially responsible. So that would be the most important for looking at an investor. When it comes to what we have to offer, I would once again say that we have the technical prowess, and when we ensure that all of these solutions are implemented, the first three, it is then we bring about our luxury aspirational brand as well, which would exponentially boost our revenue as well as be beneficial for the investors. So that I think would be our USP. I'm sure that I understand that this would require some time.
The conclusion.
We have a 10-year period. 3 to 4 years would be invested in building our brand, and
Manya,
then bring about the luxury.
sorry to cut you, but so what is the conclusion? Would it be the Gulf Steel, Arabian Gulf Steel, or would it be 3Z Capital or Berkshire Hathaway? What is your conclusion? Whom would you be interested to collaborate with? Or
I would be interested to collaborate with any of these firms which have the ethical backing, and most importantly, the ones which are most prominent in the Middle East, because that is where we wish to expand in.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't hear you. I think you are on mute. Ma'am, I still can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Neha, you're on mute. Okay, still not working.
We can actually unplug the headphones from the port of the laptop and then try again, because that's a common occurrence which happens. That might help. Thank you, Dr. Neha. Manya, thank you for the presentation. We definitely have some good ideas in terms of the new brand and the brand and sales and the differentiation strategy which comes in. Would like to really understand how you went about the research and problem solving approach. How did you really go about it? Were the case studies which you referred to? And in terms of research also, how did you go about it?
Thank you so much. So firstly, how I went about this problem is that Firstly, I looked at the problem statement, and then this is what I tried to identify, that what are the 3 key problems that are keeping the company from scaling up. Because firstly, the problem could have been that your products are just not good enough. That's why you're not doing well in the market. But it was specifically mentioned that the products are very good and the founders are also technically sound. So then if you have such a strong product and you have such a strong acumen, then why are you not doing well? So in that case, I think this is where the issue of management comes in, because you need to collaborate amongst all of the different aspects that you have in your firm. It's your product, it's your people, it's the way you're managing the people, which is the most important. So that's where I think the problem of top management comes in. So I thought maybe this is just a shot in the dark, but then when I came about researching, I saw case studies by Satya Nadella, I read Sundar Pichai's case. So I read several other companies which have got CEOs from external sources to recruit in their own companies. So why would you not want to promote someone who is already in your own company, but want to get someone who is from an external source? So that's when I got to know it's very important to have strong leadership in a company. Then once again, now you have good leadership, now you have a good product, now you have strong technical acumen. Now why are you not doing well? So now the problem could be two-phased actually. So 2 and 3 on this slides could be interchanged. So you need good profits and you need good sales so as to scale those profits. So this is how I went about solving the problem. And then when it came to increasing your profit margins, once again, there is only so much value that you can extract from a product, and there's only so much value that a customer is willing to pay you for that. So how do you increase the price for a product? Either you improve the product, but our product is already very good. So now what you can do is you can charge a premium, but the premium should be justified. So to justify the premium, the people should be convinced that I want to give my money to this company, even if it's charging me a premium, because it gives me joy, it gives me happiness. I aspire to be associated with this brand. So once again, there were reports, several reports by McKinsey on this, which were very interesting, of price premiums and of luxury subsidiary brands. So this is how I went about solving this case, please. And then I just connected the dots and pieced the puzzle together, and I think this solution would work.
Incredible, yeah. So this is great. Just one gentle heads up on the management change altogether, which is there. So usually to effect a management change, it's either a private equity move, which is like you're buying out the entire company, and then you say that okay, we have ownership of the company, and then we can put the management leadership pieces together. Which is perfectly fine, because a lot of the good investors, someone like Alpine Investors in the US, and others, and most of them, they actually do look at the top management in terms of what are the changes to be done. In this case, just a gentle heads up that it's still a young company. It's only 4 years old, doing $3 to $5 million, and at this point in time, we're trying to work with the team and try to figure out So one of the approaches is definitely, I mean, like as you rightly said, try, get in the capability, but we probably have to augment it instead of replacing it. So that's just a gentle heads up when working on the problem part of it. But otherwise, I mean, like you definitely put thought into it. So really appreciate the the thought process and the problem solving and all the other details which went into it. Thank you so much, Dr. Neha. Just checking back if you've got the audio back on. If you would like to take on a question.
Ma'am, I still can't hear you. I'm very sorry.
Would you like to type out any questions?
Exactly.
Anything specific that you would like to ask? Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Neha. Thank you, Manya. I really appreciate this. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your patient hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
As the problem statement asked, we've created a pitch deck to propose a strategy for creating growth and scale for our organization, which is aptly called AGOG Logi Synergy. So first of all, we did a market survey of what the landscape currently looked like with a focus on the UAE market. We found out that overall the economy was growing pretty fast. The GDP growth had seen tremendous increase over the past 13 years due to the energy fueled economy, and it showed a lot of diversification, which meant that even in the future, with decreasing dependency on oil, the economy would increase, especially in the UAE, and the Middle East also showed similar trend. This was shown by the fact that the non-oil GDP itself was increasing by 8.5%. And of course, be having the 13th largest port like Jebel Ali port was of course a plus point for the UAE market as well. Apart from that, in the steel industry, when I researched, it was truly wonderful that UAE was among the top 20 countries in steel producing, and a lot of the production actually exported out of the country, which meant that it was doing a lot of value added work within the country when it came to stainless steel industry. And when we dived deeper, we found out a few growth drivers that were the reason behind this impeccable success. So of course, one was the large infrastructure and construction projects in the area, which ensured that there's a constant demand for steel, which ensured that the industries in the country were thriving. Apart from that, the growing population meant that the need for commercial residence was also increasing. There was, of course, the government intervention with Vision 2030 plans, which focused more on knowledge-based industries and advanced infrastructure building, which relied heavily on the steel industry. And of course, you have the free trade zones in Dubai and a lot of foreign investment, which also promoted the industry within the country. And of course, last but not the least, a lot of the processing in steel industry is energy intensive, and cheap energy, although right now through oil, does help UAE in the current landscape as it stands. So we found out that with reduced dependency on oil, governments like in the UAE as well as other Middle Eastern countries are actually focusing on generating alternate sources of revenue, and that is where our company, being a value-adding stainless steel company, can actually leverage our skill sets and actually help get a foothold in the country. So we then did an internal capability analysis of our company and found out what we're good at with the SWOT analysis. So of course, we found out that our strengths were, as the case mentioned, a strong technical expertise and reinvestment of profits for growth. We found out that some of our weaknesses were in the sales and management team in terms of brand differentiation, and that we were cost differentiating organization. And the opportunities that were mentioned were, of course, first of all, the B2C market for stainless steel, then the maintenance contracts, and the business that was growing in the restaurant and supermarket businesses. Apart from that, the threats were, of course, the intense competition that is present in the market, the cost of IP protection that was mentioned, and the preference for other established brands in the process. Based on this, we did surveys on, if any other company has been in a similar situation, in a similar landscape. And we found out that a couple of decades ago, Saudi Industrial Kitchen Company also had a similar problem. They were essentially willing to diversify from their existing portfolio of basic stainless steel kitchen equipment and bakery equipment. And what they did was they expanded into modular kitchen solutions, laundry equipment, hospital equipment, furniture manufacturing, and that really worked out well for them. So some of the key success factors that they had was, of course, innovation focused, integrating across the value chain, making strategic partnerships for success, and focusing on customer service. And although this might not be directly impactful on our, it does provide a relevant test case for us to understand what we can do as a company and what might be the growth factors that might be necessary for us to proceed. Then we did a strategic analysis of the objective that we had claimed. So the objective was, of course, scaling from a 5 million annual recurring revenue in the UAE to 100 million plus ARR market leader in the Middle East in 10 years. So of course, the objective was quite ambitious with, 1900% increase. And that essentially meant that you cannot restrict yourself to UAE. You had to, of course, build your foothold in UAE. You had to be a strong player, but you also had to leverage the existing, free trade agreements, the FTZs, to ensure that you export as much as possible, because that is where you, as a player who is operating in UAE and has access to ports like Dubai, can actually win. So we found out that you need to build competencies while also expanding both geographically as well as functionally. Then we delved into a few possible paths of growth. And of course, there were paths like strategic partnerships with the other organizations, operational excellence to optimize the production, and of course, building the brand. And although all of these paths do make sense to some extent, we should incorporate them in our process. We found out that, in terms of strategy, it is more about deciding what not to do. So rather than doing everything at one go, we decided that while we can do the option 3, 4, 5 on the background, continually, improving our processes, the initial focus with considerable investment should be on expanding our markets, both from a geographical expansion as well as industry diversification point of view, as well as innovating our product, by focusing on R&D, which has already been a strong part of our portfolio. So that is what we decided was should be the main focus of our organization. So based on that, we delved into a few options for the market expansion. So of course, geographical expansion is one of the main options, expanding to other countries in the MENA region through the ports is given, and that is how the products must be developed so that they can cater to all kinds of countries. But apart from that, in the market expansion, we also talked about the industry that we should target. So the food and storage industry was one industry that we found out that was quite nice and quite enticing, because it saw a CAGR of 2.3%, and the annual storage industry actually had 52.4 million metric tons by 2025. So that is the projection. And we've seen a lot of initiatives as well. The UAE National Food Security Strategy has tried to take an initiative to make in Emirates. So, there's a lot of focus on local supplies, which means that a lot of production will be happening in-house, which means that a lot of food storage industry will be thriving. And apart from that, we also see that a lot of foreign players and big players have actually set up plants in the UAE, such as GMG has already set up 4 facilities in the organization. You see, with an increasing population, with an increasing GDP, we'll see a lot of more players coming in the market. And we feel like, rather than allowing some external foreign player to dominate this market, we should move ourselves first and allow and take hold of this market. So of course, the reason why we chose was also because it had a nice company fit. We are technically expert. It is in our technical expertise. So since we have a strong engineering and R&D background, we can actually innovate quite well in this industry. Having a strategic location also means that we can export our equipments to other countries like Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt, which are also seeing tremendous growth. Of course, this revenue stream also adds to the annual maintenance contract, where we can provide annual maintenance contracts to these organizations, and it is a high value segment, which is something that we like to target because it is a premium equipment and price sensitivity is not really a concern. So, this was our first suggestion. Apart from that, we also found out that the restaurant cooking equipment, which is basically the fast food chains and the restaurant chains in UAE, are also seeing tremendous growth, and capturing that market also makes sense. We found out that UAE is among the highest, UAE population is among the highest who spend on restaurants, around 3,159, and that is around 46% of the total food spend. And there's been tremendous growth. Chain full service restaurant sales are growing 1.8 times as fast. And right now the market still has a lot of gaps. So there, compared to the US, which has around 320 people per restaurant, Dubai only has 260 people per restaurant, which means that there is going to be growth in the future. And since there is going to be that growth, you'll see a lot new local ventures starting up. You might see, foreign players who come in and set up their chains. And that is where we can actually have a good opportunity, because Of course, because we already have an existing client base, so we can actually leverage that to sell our equipments. We can cross-sell, we also are in the decoratives and artwork business. So some of these restaurants might be, top-end restaurants who might want fancy art and decorative artworks, which we can provide to them as well. Brand building, of course, targeting specific restaurant segments can help us build a distinct brand identity. And of course, economies of scale comes into place, because if we gain a contract with, let's say, an organization like McDonald's in the UAE, then we'll be able to sell a similar standardized product to all outlets in the UAE of McDonald's as well as in the MENA region. So that would be a big contract. And I think that would help us optimize our operations as well. So if we have such a big order and, our revenue streams as well. So both of these options are the ones that we suggested the most. Of course, our company also has a foothold in the hospital equipment, but our suggestion was to, divert from the hospital equipment to the restaurant and cooking food industry, because I think from a brand perspective, if we try to do a lot of things, that would not pan out well in the longer run. Since we are trying to become a big company with a revenue of 100 million, we need to have scope, but that doesn't mean that we try and do something that affects our main portfolio. So our suggestion would be to, while the indulgence in the hospital equipment industry should be reevaluated to see how much value it adds and how much impact it has on our standing as a player in the restaurant and the food storage industry. Then we also talked about the product development. So our focus was on differentiation. So we found out that currently what was lacking was that we were not able to differentiate our product. We were basically winning contracts through sale. And that is a bad strategy. If you want to grow, by 1,900% in 10 years, you need to differentiate your product. And so a lot of focus should be on the features. A lot of focus should be on making the design modular so that, customizations can be provided to the customers. They can use the same set of tools or parts to make different kind of equipments. Sustainability, of course, is an integral part, because with the coming years, if we try to do something that's not sustainable, it will not be working in the long run, and we'll have to reevaluate our value chain again and again. So it makes sense to, indulge in sustainability from the get-go. And of course, using data integration to, optimize processes throughout the value chain. Targeting individual buyers, we were thinking of targeting premium buyers with luxury materials, first of all, with premium finishes like stainless steel or copper to appeal to high value and buyers seeking prestige. We tried to provide smart features with technology, voice control, app connectivities, which is something that we can provide as we have an expertise in engineering and technology. Apart from that, customization options can also be provided in our products. And last but not least, we thought of providing limited editions in our products. It may be, in the utensils business, or it might be in the artwork business. Provided limited editions offers us a quick revenue stream, while also, improving our brand image. Last but not the least, the problem of the marketing. So basically, we believe that if we have a differentiated product with proven features and success rate in the marketing department, if we have proven features, the success rate in the marketing department will improve, because a lot of the times, if you are asking your marketing department to sell simply on the basis of price, that is the only strategy they have, and that is what they end up achieving. So if we ourselves provide a differentiated product, they can also present it better and they can gain better contracts from their side. And that would help us move from a cost leadership, which we currently have, to a product differentiation strategy. Organizational improvements are also necessary, as the sales and marketing team, which has currently been lacking. You need to recruit experienced professionals with expertise in the Middle East region, use data-driven sales by using CRM softwares, develop targeted marketing campaigns for different regions and customer segments, and participate in industry events to show brand awareness. Apart from that, investment in talent and training is necessary, because as we saw, a lot of the funds were actually sent back into production and not incentivizing the employees. So we recommend, including performance-based compensation to recognizing top performance at annual felicitation events. And apart from that, improving operational efficiency is necessary as we streamline the production and reduce waste, because as we are growing, we will be assuming a lot of workload. And once that is there, these operational inefficiencies start to eat your bottom line. So it is necessary that we streamline it and have a dedicated department into improving the supply chain and the opportunities in that area. Apart from that, since we have a focus on product, we need to have a dedicated product team that focuses on research and development, and that department should be in close communication with the sales and marketing to constantly understand the needs of the market and alter the product accordingly. And you need to also, create a product development budget and roadmap so that we don't go overboard. We don't, invest in projects that are not value adding or that have a negative present value in the future. Last but not the least, since we are planning for diversification across geographies, we need to also have global teams. Since we're focusing on the MENA region, we need to have people from the MENA region as well as people from outside, as many people as we can get to add perspective, to bring in, experts in local areas for, marketing and sales consultation to understand the landscape thoroughly. And of course, since we have free trade zones in Dubai, we can also have offshore offices to, send salaries outside. We can have offices in India that do the technology. We can have offices in the US that do the designing. So we can have that kind of structure to optimize our cash flow, up our operational efficiency, so that, we don't miss out on creativity. Last but not the least, so based on this analysis, we also created a strategy diamond on how we can move ahead with this strategy. So the arenas that we plan our organization will be functioning in is the high value, that in the products area, that is the high value food manufacturing and storage equipment. In the services, of course, the food manufacturing and the equipment manufacturing industry would require after sales and maintenance support, which is necessary to build trust, and that can also act as a revenue stream. The markets that we would be focusing on was with an initial focus on UAE and then expand to other regions. And the customer segments would be the large food manufacturers, supermarkets, chain restaurants, etc. The vehicles that we would use would be the product development, a focus on product development, a robust marketing and sales plan, improving our operations, and expanding thoroughly throughout the MENA region. Our differentiation would be our quality and reliability and our customer service. So we need to focus on the current situation that we have. We're already known for quality and reliability. We do not need to give up on that. We need to focus on that while adding more products to our portfolio. And the staging could be, for the first 2 years, we could focus on product development, build sales and marketing team, and establish a strong presence in the UAE markets itself. Once that is done, you are able to launch the products in the UAE market and achieve at least 20% of share in the UAE restaurant equipment market. We can then start our expansion into the MENA region. Of course, we'll be planning the expansion for the past 2 years, but let's pan out slowly once we understand our strategies in the UAE and once we have a positive revenue stream, so that we can absorb any losses that we may have when we enter other countries. And once that is done, beyond year 5, we can become a leading player in the MENA region slowly and slowly by also taking care of competition. We might face competition from local players, so we'll need to decide how we want to react with them. Do we want to collaborate? Do we want to coexist? Do we want to compete actively with them? So those are decisions that we need to make real time based on the competition that might come up. And the economic logic of our solution is basically that, first of all, we're creating value. We're creating value for ourselves. We're creating value for our clients. So that is, of course, great profitability. With a premium pricing strategy, we can actually make more profits, and that would be justified due to the product quality and innovation that we provide. And as we increase market share, we can focus on organic growth initially and then leverage partnerships for faster and more sustainable expansion in the long run. So that is our strategy in the short, in a brief way. So we think that this would really help AGOG, Logi Synergy, to achieve growth in the 10 years. Of course, there are multiple caveats, and in real time, the strategy would have to change to fit the market scenario. But as it stands, we believe that this would help the organization get a better understanding of what it may want to do. So yeah, that is it from our side. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to present. We are now open to questions.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. Requesting Dr. Nabajyoti and Dr. Neha to go first, and then I would be, coming to the questions too.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Should I share this to you?
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek, and thank you, Mr. Monce, for giving me the opportunity. There are 2 questions, specific questions. One is internal to the firm, and one is external to the firm, right? So when you talk about say, diversified portfolio, right? So you have different product catering to different markets, right? Even including B2B and B2C. So when it comes to diversification and attaining competitive advantage or creating value for the shareholders, one important concept which we look for is economies of scope, right? So where do you see this economies of scope coming when you are talking about a diversified portfolio of stainless steel products? So that's my first question. My second question is, it's coming from the macro environment. Recently, the European Union have implemented Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM, for the iron and steel industry. I'm sure you must have heard about it.
Yes.
So how is this going to impact your business? I hope I'm clear from my end, Abhishek.
Right. The questions are clear. So I'll focus first on the internal question. So I believe that economies of scope are necessary because, as I mentioned, the target is quite ambitious. You cannot grow 1,900 in a market that might be restricted like the UAE simply by providing one product. So that is why, even my solution offered two options, focusing on the food equipment industry as well as the food storage industry. So that would mean that you're present across the entire value chain, from the storage of the food to the manufacturing of the food to the restaurant businesses. So that essentially means, one, we believe that it would add scope because even if any player, let's say a manufacturing player, wants to move upstream and start, selling products like Walmart, let's say, decides to start a retail store and offer burgers, they already have contracts with us. So we can leverage those client contracts and actually help us. So I think those would allow us with scope. Of course, we already have a diverse portfolio, as the case mentioned. We are into the kitchen equipments, we are into the modular kitchen solutions, we are in the supermarket equipment and decorative art and artwork also. As I mentioned, you can actually, if you're collaborating with premium restaurants and hotels, you can actually provide those services to them as well. So, while we also have scope, if we target the right markets, we can also leverage the clients that we have, which is one of the reasons why I focused on not continuing or investing as heavily in the hospital equipment, because compared to the other industries, the hospital equipment seemed a bit different. And we felt that while it would make sense to diversify to de-risk our profile, we felt that as a brand image, if we are associated with the hospital equipment, that might not fit well with a lot of players who are, functioning in the kitchen equipment or the modular kitchen solution. That is why, and as a part of strategy, you need to sacrifice somewhere to gain somewhere. So we feel like that is a place or a decision that might be hard. Of course, we need to have better facts about, which department is adding how much revenue. But from a preliminary analysis, I feel like that is important. Apart from the external aspect, the carbon tax that you mentioned. So I feel that will be a big player. And I think a lot of companies have started investing heavily in their green energy because of this aspect, because they know that they no longer can get away with it. And I think that is why, one of our focus was also on sustainable development, because we feel like right now, Dubai or UAE or our company, for instance, may be able to afford the carbon tax to some extent, but in the long run, it cannot. So while right now, if your processes are focused on heavily on, using natural gas and similar energy sources to drive growth, you can continue, but you need to slowly phase out. So that could mean that you can move out your production facilities to areas which are more rich in natural resources. So for instance, and one of the biggest reasons this works is because, as we know, Dubai has a free trade zone, so it can actually bring in goods at a much cheaper rate. So that is a big advantage, and that's why you can outsource your production. You might send it to India if you want, if you have the necessary scale. Right now, I feel like the scale is not as much, so outsourcing didn't make sense. But if you're becoming $100 million company, it makes I would say it makes very little sense to only do the entire value chain in UAE. You need to send out your departments. You need to make your entire company global. And that is how, you grow, because without that, we feel like that would be restricting your own scope. And you're right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. It was a great question. It really made me think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, but I think my question gets answered through the first question that Naba posted. So I just wanted to understand how your strategy aligns in terms of how you're differentiating. So I think I'm good with that for now, requesting Mr. Monce to take ahead.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Nabajyoti. Thank you, Dr. Neha. Abhishek, wonderful job done with the limited information that we had on hand in terms of the company and, the challenges that we're facing in terms of all the things going out there. So just wanted to understand two bits. One is obviously the strategy part of it. I mean, how did you go about the research part of it? Figuring out that, okay, this is what we have to do. And second is obviously, I mean, when we are, one thing, obviously, when you're, really venturing into businesses, you really have to figure out which are the high margin opportunities out there and the volumes, right? So high margin bhi hona chahiye and volumes bhi hona chahiye. So if both of these things kind of sync up, that's like a golden opportunity out there. So would love to learn more about the research, how you went about it, and then going about the different blocks in terms of saying that, okay, this is probably, one way to, get there. How did you really go about it with the team?
Right. So I think the first part, of course, I'll start with the research. So let me just start with the slide. Okay. So basically what we did was, of course, we had a lot of resources mentioned in the end of the case. So we went through it, those helped us get an idea of what the landscape looked like. And it seemed like, I did not expect UAE to be such a big player in the stainless steel industry, but the reports altered my view. So we did that first. Then, in our free time also, we saw a few videos about the utensils industry. We saw, case studies about Prestige and other companies in India that have worked. And also, based on research, I think there were many research by, let us say, the Dubai and other government organizations. They had reports, annual reports, or industry reports about what worked in their industry, and that helped us understand that Dubai actually is a great place to do business. I mean, we knew about it, but we saw the actual policies in place, the tax benefits, how easy it is for an organization to come from outside, set up business, and that really made us think that our organization can also thrive. So we did. So basically, the first research was basically using the resource that we had. Then we read through government in the reports and journals, and then we found out about different companies, because we feel like, and I've done this for a few case comps, what I like to do is find out companies that are similar, that have been in a similar position, and that have both succeeded and failed. So in this case, I was not able to find a company which failed because it's very niche, the Dubai market, utensil market, and the time was restricted, so I couldn't delve that deep. But I found out one company, the Saudi steel company, and that had a very similar brand portfolio, and that also managed to succeed by diversifying. I think one of the companies, Good Earth, was another company, an Indian company, which was earlier focusing only on providing small scale decorative furniture equipment, but then they moved out into full-time product sales through B2C. So I think there are multiple instances of companies doing this. So based on that, we realized that our strategies should also be focusing on that, trying to diversify. And talking about the margin and the scope margin that you mentioned, of course, that is why we've focused on two parts. One, we expect the food storage industry equipment. So we expect not a lot of small players to be present in that, but we expect that there'll be like maybe 20, 25, 30 big players, but those will be big sources of revenue, and they'll be our returning clients. Once they have invested with us, it's very unlikely that they will go, and the stickiness is very high. So if they buy our equipment, if it runs out in 5 years, they need to change, they'll come back to us. So that is something that would allow us, and the margins are also pretty high in this area. Then coming to the restaurant cooking equipment, here we'll be targeting people across the economic scale. We'll be having people who are opening their restaurant, single families, as well as big chains who might want to open. So there we have a lot of customers, so the margins we can alter accordingly since we have a lot of people. So to target more customers, we'll have to maybe sacrifice the margins to some extent initially to gain more leverage. So that is something that we can decide based on the strategy. It depends whether we want to be a sort of premium utensil equipment, so that we only target the big brands and continue to maintain the the margins and the profits per sale that we make, or do we want to have more customers? Do we want to build a good rapport with the entire community in the UAE, the food industry in the UAE? And our suggestion would be the latter, because as our suggestion suggests, we want to be present across the value chain, and that would essentially mean that you need to have a good rapport with people across the value chain. So you need to know where you can charge high and get away with it, where you can charge low and get away with it. So that balance is necessary in our opinion. So I hope that answers. If there's anything more that we should clarify.
Incredible. Thank you, Abhishek. That's it from my side.
So any more questions from anyone's side?
No, I think that will be fine.
Thanks a lot to the panel. Thanks for the questions. They were truly invigorating. So we hope to interact in the future as well. So this is Team StratQuest signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, good morning. I am Mihir Shah from Team Prowess Equest, and this is my final presentation for the Conquest case competition. Before we start with the analysis, here's a quick overview of the problem statement in my understanding. AG, OG, Logi, Synergy, despite strong technical expertise and initial success, faces limitations in scaling due to insufficient sales and management talent, lack of differentiation, focus on low margin projects. They aim to become a 100 million plus ARR market leader by strategically expanding into high volume segments, investing in R&D and brand building, also leveraging partnerships and acquisitions. Now let's look at the industry as a whole before we deep dive into the analysis. The Middle East stainless steel market is projected to reach $5.7 billion by 2027, experiencing a CAGR of 5.1%. Some trends that we observe in this industry are focus on high-grade steel, technological advancements, increased regional production, and an emphasis on sustainable methods of production and complete cyclicity in the product cycle. Growth drivers in this industry are mega construction projects, expanding tourism industry, focus and advances in healthcare and food safety, and lastly, urbanization and population growth. Some of the challenges in this market are a fluctuation in the prices of raw material because of global trends, which can impact profitability. There's intense competition from regional and international players, some offering lower prices. Lastly, it's a very capital intensive business requiring a lot of fixed cost upfront to start operations and scale them further. The competitive landscape is quite strong with a lot of incumbents and startups. Some of the prominent players are Emirates Steel and others in the market. So now let's let's analyze the internal part, which is the client side. AGOG Logisunogy is a stainless steel manufacturing company where the founders come from a very strong technical background. As production specialists with expertise including estimation, planning, engineering, R&D, and having held key senior roles, they have a lot of expertise, which is basically helping run and grow this company. If we look at the value chain of a steel manufacturing company, firstly, there is raw material sourcing, which is sourcing high quality iron ore from reputable suppliers in the region or internationally. Secondly, there is logistics and warehousing, where we optimize inventory management to minimize holding costs and ensure timely availability of materials. These two were the upstream activities of the value chain analysis. Now coming to the core activities, production, the entire flow of iron ore and coal through the cycle to produce steel. Second part is design, where value-added processes are done to convert steel to usable products for different use cases and segments. Now coming to the downstream activities, which are marketing and sales, where we generate demand, get orders, market to customers, and other complementary activities. And lastly, distribution, where we service the orders, ensure timely delivery, and after-sales service. From the SWOT analysis mentioned in the case brief, here are the relevant and a crisper version of the same. The strengths of the client is strong technical expertise, offering a wide range of stainless steel products, and already achieved a 3 to 5 million ARR in USD within 4 years, demonstrating excellence. The weaknesses are limited sales and management expertise, lack of dedicated talent, over-reliance on low-cost strategy. They've primarily won projects based on price competitiveness, and limited investment in IP protection. The opportunities for the client lie in growing industries and the trends mentioned earlier, and focusing on the higher value segments, while at the same time, the threats for the clients are high competition, risk of competitors copying design because of weak IP strategy, and volatile economic conditions. So a summary of this will be an as-is state to to-be state mapping, where currently it is a competitive player with proven record and technical knowledge of the founders with a weak base, while the to-be state is an expanding player at $100 million ARR with processes for IP, marketing, branding, and points of differentiation. Now let's evaluate the various market options available for the client on a common theme to decide which market to focus on. Firstly, the QSR market. Here the market size is $8.2 billion and it's expected to reach $30.4 billion by 2028, growing at a CAGR of 8.3%. The gross margins are around 20%. Application for steel in this market is extensive, with use in kitchen equipments, counter storage, etc. If we look at the growth drivers, there is an increasing demand for consumption of QSR products, while the challenges is intense competition and it's a very price sensitive market. Second market is the fine dine restaurants market. This in UAE is at $2.2 billion, experiencing a CAGR of 5.4%. Profitability falls a bit to 10%, while the application for steel is moderate, primarily in kitchen equipments and decoration. The growth drivers for this market are rising disposable income, increasing tourism, and growing demand for premium dining experiences, while the challenges remain more or less same as compared to the earlier market. Coming to the third market, which is tourism. The market is valued at $126.9 billion, growing at 5.2%. The profitability is at 10%. The thing to note here is that this is a valuation of the tourism industry, while the serviceable market for steel is quite less here, which will be covered later in the analysis. The application for steel is hotels, resorts, tourist attractions, etc. While the market analysis, while the growth drivers are similar to that observed in the fine dine restaurants and the increasing trend for exploring more places among the youth. Coming to the fourth market to explore, which is supermarket segment. Here the market size is $84.8 billion, growing at 5.4%. The profitability is at 15%. Application for steel is moderate, ranging in use cases of shelving, display units, refrigeration units, trolleys, etc. The growth driver here is expanding population, rising disposable income, and growth of online grocery shopping. The fifth market, clinics and hospitals. This is another huge chunk with a market size of $87.6 billion, growing at 6.8%, margins around 20%. Application is moderate with use cases in surgical equipment, furniture, sterilization units, and other capital products used in this industry. The growth drivers is increasing healthcare spending and adoption of taking health as a priority attitude. And lastly, we have the real estate segment, where the market size is a whooping $420.8 billion, growing at 5.7%. The margins are roughly around 12%, while the application for steel is very high for construction materials, building components, and other systems. The growth driver for this market is rise in urbanization, government infrastructure projects, and mega events like the Expo and others held in Dubai and other similar nations. So that was the analysis of the various market opportunities present for the client AGOG Logi-Synergy. Now, to summarize this and arrive at a decision making, this is where we look at. We can see that real estate is one of the highest market sizes with an almost comparable growth rate across all other segments available. Among these industries, if we look at where the relevant part of where steel is being used, based on high steel usage and moderate steel usage, we can see that it ranges between 10 to 20%. Again, we see the highest potential for using steel in this segment is highest for real estate at $111 billion. Out of this, if we see the gross margin and the net margin levels across the segments, it is more or less comparable with steel, with real estate being a bit on the moderate to lower side. But again, given the size of the industry and opportunity for application of steel, it nets out when we look at the absolute numbers. Here, the gross margin possible are $66.6 million and the net margins are $33.3 million. Hence, after doing an in-depth analysis of various market opportunities, the recommendation for the client is to focus its effort on the real estate segment. It has the largest market with strong growth drivers, comparable growth rate across other segments, and has high usage of steel in various functions of the industry. Over the next 5 years, AGOG Logi-Synergy will be able to clock an ARR of $600 million. Apart from that, as asked in the problem statement, here is a report of the other competitors in this industry. We have taken 5 main here: Emirates Steel, Jebel Ali Free Zone Steel, Qatar Steel, Saudi Steel Pipe Company, and Mohammed Al Shia Company. The USP for these range from integrated steel manufacturer to large production capacity, variety of products offered, and niche specific players. The strengths include strong brand recognition or extensive product portfolio, strong domestic market presence, advanced for manufacturing technologies, and extensive experience in steel projects respectively. Lastly, the expertise again boils down to either the product portfolio, the operations and the scale, or their network in the market. This is an overview. The details can be covered later if we have any questions on the same. And lastly, the problem statement asked of us a broad range of questions that the client can look at. In my opinion, the 2 steps for now to achieve the target of ARR $100 million, they have to focus on the real estate segment and work on brand building and trust among the market. The other parts like IP can be looked at later because as mentioned in the case brief, it is a very expensive process, and at the same time there is constant innovation happening. Hence, it won't give a long-term sustainable competitive advantage. So how can we exactly build a brand and trust in the market? Firstly, highlight the technical expertise of the founders. showcase the founder's strong technical background and experience through industry publications, case studies, and various other media interaction platforms. Then the next part to build trust is to focus on quality and customer satisfaction. Implement robust quality control measures and obtain industry certificates. A comparable metaphor will be the ISO certificate in India. Then all the positive customer reviews and project success stories can be compiled and showed to other clients while pitching, and offer excellent customer service, which will help in word of mouth as well. Emphasizing on sustainability and social responsibility is a very key aspect of this industry. In the annual reports of Tata Steel, for example, out of an investor presentation of 50 odd slides, 10 to 12 slides are focused just on how they are optimizing their sustainability and circular economy strategies. This is because steel manufacturing industry is a very carbon heavy industry, and it is working on this aspect of the industry gives a lot of trust and confidence in the market to such companies. Adapting eco-friendly manufacturing process will help reduce environmental impact. Sustainable material sourcing and distribution will add carbon saving to the entire value chain. And lastly, building a strong digital presence and to build a brand. This might sound a bit unorthodox for this industry, but we have also seen this in the case of Tata Steel, where they recently developed a mobile application for ordering for their steel products. It is called Tata Steel Ashiana. So not developing an entire application, but starting on the digital journey will be a good place where we develop a user-friendly website showcasing the products, capabilities, testimonials, and our expertise. Utilizing social media platforms to engage with potential customers, share insights, and showcase the company culture. Implementing SEO strategies will help with online visibility and organic reach. While digital might not translate directly into sales, it's a great organic way to reach out, build trust and awareness in the market. That was my presentation for the final round of Conquest competition. The floor is now open to questions. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. I would request Mr. Monce to take it ahead first this time, if that will be fine.
Thank you, Dr. Neha. Mihir, first of all, thank you for the presentation. It definitely covers a lot of detail. Would love to, really understand how you went about the research part of it. One thing is definitely, I think, we missed the tangent part, which is, the products part of it, but that's fine because I think, probably we were not able to, really put it across in the limited information that we shared, but would like to understand the research part where you went about the market analysis and how did you really go about that part? Yeah.
So my sources were mainly secondary, referring to Statista, Euromonitor, and other sources available. I found a bit of a problem with the UAE and Middle East specific data. So at some places, I've taken comparable data. For example, like the certificates part that I mentioned, I could not find the exact certificate applicable in those markets. So I took a comparable example of the ISO certificate. Research was mainly secondary through Euromonitor, Statista, and other reliable sources.
So ISO is perfectly fine because that was one of the recommendations which we actually shared on the ground with the company.
Okay.
Because, as you go up in the value chain in terms of the kind of customers you're dealing with and the kind of deals that you're dealing with, they have some basic filters in terms of which are the companies who can take the orders from them. Right. So we figured out that, we could work on those things. Right. So again, some of the ideas which you've shared might seem fundamental, but that's definitely the way to go. And just a gentle heads up again that, one thing that we probably missed was the problem statement, which is, the products that the company is specifically dealing in. So we have mentioned actually around 6 products, going down the level of expertise. So starting with hoods and ventilation, then kitchen equipment. So the steel is actually the input from which, the finished products are made. The company has the expertise in the finished products. And then, they're looking at the B2B part of it. But having said that, again, still looking at some of the other ways you went about the problem, it still, is something that is helpful when you're thinking of, really working on the problem.
Okay, so taken feedback noted. Thank you.
Dr. Neha, Dr. Nabajyoti, yeah.
Okay, so as Mr. Monce said, you have missed the problem statement, but nevertheless, can we go back to the slide where you have mentioned about the profit margin? So
this one?
Yeah, this one, yes. So I'm a little confused about this part. So when you talk about the gross margins, is it the margin of the particular industry, say real estate, or is it the margin that the steel company can earn by selling to that industry?
So
So
the latter one.
sorry?
The latter one. The margin that the steel company is likely to get from that sector.
Okay, so based on this, so you are suggesting that real estate is the most profitable one, isn't it?
Not in terms of percentage, in terms of the absolute value. So this is the percentage. So at percentage level, it's not the best. But when we multiply that with the opportunity present and what the client will be able to milk out of it, that is when it makes sense that this is where we should go.
So
I've taken a mere assumption of a 0.5% market share.
Okay, all right. Fine, take it. Thanks. Neha, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mihir. I think I resonate with what Mr. Monce and Naba said, that although you've missed out on the product part of it, but I like the way that you've presented, and I think my thoughts have been covered already. So thank you for the presentation.
All right. Thank you for the feedback, Jury, and thank you for this opportunity.